Hi everybody, it's me Jill and welcome to Jill Informed. This is the recap of The Real Housewives of New York City, Season 10, Episode 21, The Reunion, Part 2. Well, there's no pretense here. We are just barreling right into it from the get-go. And now Dorinda is in the spotlight. Long story short, Dorinda does not think she's a drunk. She does think that she had a drinking problem last fall, or that it was becoming an issue for her, and she had to check herself. And to this day, she still maintains that she was not drunk in Colombia. Oh, girlfriend, I love you, but your lipstick says otherwise. I mean, the Joker had nothing on that look. Then Andy goes to a viewer's question. They asked Dorinda, do you think it would be a good idea for you to go to rehab like your friend LuAnn? No. No. Oh, God. No, she does not believe she needs to go to rehab because she didn't get arrested. So that is apparently the criteria. Drink till the cops are called. Then she goes on to say that LuAnn only went to rehab because it was practically court ordered. All right, there's more back and forth, and it is ugly in here, guys. It is not a pretty sight. There was a lot of pre-gaming going on before this reunion, let me just say that. Sonia said something coming to, I guess, LuAnn's defense, and Dorinda yells, "Shut up, Sonia, you're drunk all the time." And Sonia said, well, at least I don't insult my friends' vaginas. Yeah, there's that. Oh, but if she didn't, we never would have gotten that classic gem. Put an easy pass on that Holland Tunnel. I mean, come on. These are quotes for the Dorindaism book. We move on to LuAnn inviting Scott to the cabaret, but not John. And Dorinda pulls out a text where apparently LuAnn had said that it was going to be a girls' night only. I thought you understood that. So she really was hurt that Scott then got invited. But you know, it got invited at the last minute. It's not like LuAnn was dying to have Scott there, so I would have thought that LuAnn would have wanted as many people in that venue as possible, but you know, I guess it was pretty popular. So maybe it was selling out quick and she had to be choosy. Good for her. Oh, then the yelling out, "That's a Giovanni," was brought up. Dorinda is now trying to make it sound like she was just celebrating Giovanni. Like it was just a wonderful tribute. And that she wasn't heckling LuAnn at all. Oh, yeah, right. After all that, Dorinda does say that she hopes that she and LuAnn can repair their friendship. They've been friends for 15 years, and she's like, I think we'll get it back. I hope so. And I'm like, this reunion is so heated and charged with hatred that I feel like I am grasping at every little gesture of kindness, you know? So inside I'm like, oh, good. Okay, next in the spotlight is Tinsley and her relationship with Scott and it being on again and off again. Andy asked her why that is. Do you guys keep getting in fights, or, you know, what's going on there? And she said, no, not really. It is mostly the tension of a long distance relationship, and also that Scott is very focused on his career. I'm taking that to mean that he doesn't have enough time for Tinsley, or not as much time as Tinsley would like him to spend on her, right? So the question was asked, when you guys are broken up, does he see other people? And she said yes. Okay. I mean, that's not the best answer because she was kind of trying to make it sound like like he's married to his job, but he has time to date other people. I don't know. That's not the best sign. And I guess apparently she too also sees other people, or has. I must say that during Tinsley's segment here, Whenever they show Bethany's face, she's giving very like supportive facial expressions and smiling, and she's making nice comments toward Tinsley. So that's good. I told you I'm going to be looking for all the positive I can. So Andy ends the segment with Tinsley by saying, no disrespect intended, but do you want Scott or do you just want to be married? She said, Scott. No, Scott. I want Scott. So I don't know. I think he asked her where she saw herself in a year, and she said engaged. And maybe they are talking about it. Well, Tinsley's talking about it anyway. I don't know about Scott. I want the best for Tins. I love my little Tinsley. Okay, now after the break, we take a look back at LuAnns' journey through the season, and oh my gosh, it's one gem after another. Unfortunately, she's not there to talk about it. He asks Bethany something about LuAnn, and apparently Bethany was the last one of the ladies to talk to her. And it really sounded to me like that intervention that she alluded to having in part 1 was about LuAnn. Bethany said that really the catalyst for her going down a bad path again was being sued by her family, and Bethany got Dennis and LuAnn in touch with each other, and I guess he was kind of helping her sort through some of that legal stuff. That sort of put her over the edge, and she went down a bad path. Andy does then ask the ladies, so when she came back this season, she was pretty dismissive of all of you last season, and I believe she even called you jealous bitches when you were all against her getting married to Tom. So when she came back this season, did she kind of have her tail tucked between her legs and apologize? And everyone was like, no, not exactly. She basically took the stance of, I'm fine, let's just move past this, let's get over it, it's fine. But he does talk about how he thought it was surprising that she had that moment with Bethany where she really kind of admitted to Bethany, yeah, you were right. And Bethany said, yeah, it surprised her too. This kind of came out of nowhere. I thought it seemed a little weird, but Ramona said, yeah, when we were in Mexico, I told her some very specific things that I knew about Tom too. And she just said, oh, don't tell Noel. I hope he doesn't find out. I told her, I'm not going to tell anybody. But that was when they were in Mexico, and she had 18 tequilas and fell in the bushes. I think Andy said, do you think that's why she drank that much? And Ramona was like, maybe. When they came back from break, Andy asked them all if they knew she had started to drink again. And everyone was pretty much nodding. Ramona, of course, God love her, was very eager to tell that they were in the Beacon. And then LuAnn put her head back in my girlfriend's lap, and she just threw her legs up over her head, and she was escorted out of the Beacon. And then apparently she was at a party some days later, and she was kicked out of the party too. And then Dorinda said to Bethany, you knew she was drinking too, I think, didn't you? And Bethany said, yeah, I did. Andy then asked about her going back to rehab this second time now. He said, did she come to that decision herself, or was there an intervention? And Bethany said, I would say that she did not entirely come to that decision on her own. There were a few people there, and it was the right decision. So, I don't know. Sounds like an intervention, right? The question again of like, why do you think she started again? And Sonia said, well, I did several sober shows with her when they were doing the cabaret together. And she said, I know for a fact that she was not drinking in the green room. And then Sonia said to Andy, you know, what about when you came? And Andy said, she seemed a little off to me the night I was there. And Sonia said, I thought she was doing well. And then we cut over to Carole, and Carole said, yeah, so did I. And then Bethany talked about how LuAnn is really just like a big kid who needs to be loved. I think Andy asked if they thought that the huge success of her cabaret show had anything to do with her going down the bad path again. And I think Dorinda said yes, Bethany said yes. Everyone kind of thought that was a contributing factor. Then Andy said to Bethany, well, you were the last one really to talk with her. So what do you think she would say if she could have been here? And Bethany said she would have wanted everyone to know that her family suing her was the catalyst for her to start drinking again, and that she would never take from her children, and she did not steal from her children. I don't know what the deal is there. I know it has something to do with the fact that she was supposed to put money in a trust fund for her children, and that it had something to do with the sale of her house in the Hamptons, but that she bought another house instead. And I don't know really anything more than that. Anyway, Bethany said, and also that she really wanted to be here for this reunion. She really wanted to be here. And Dorinda said, we'll do an extra reunion for her. Oh, God. I don't think I could take a part 4. So Andy said, well, we all love LuAnn and we're all thinking of her. And then we go to a commercial break. And when we come back, buckle up, because now it is time for Bethany and Carole. Okay, we get a montage of the entire season of the two of them having missteps. And it seems odd at first, and then it's clear that they have a problem with each other, and then it gets very adversarial, and then the finale where Carole says, I know we'll find our sweet spot again. I want them to be friends. You see everybody watching the montage and stuff, and then that gets everybody to go, oh. And then Andy says, well, that was a nice way to end the season, but we know that you guys did not find your sweet spot. And Dorinda goes, yet. I like that Dorinda's hopeful. So Andy says, how did it start? I think that's what everybody really wants to know. What started this whole thing? I still don't feel like I understand really how it all started. They went back all the way to last summer. Carole had said that she spent most of the summer in California with one of her friends whose husband died. Bethany was doing other things too over the summer, but they really didn't talk very much. And it was weird because Bethany said the summer before that, they kind of hung out the whole summer together. So that alone created this kind of distance between them. Then when Carole came back, they tried to plan things together. I guess Carole had a couple friends in town or was doing things with other friends. Bethany felt a little slighted. One thing led to another, and I don't think it was any big thing. I think it was a lot of these little moments of maybe slightly feeling hurt or left out, or even the awkwardness of not seeing each other for so long in the summer and then trying to get back again together. Maybe that even felt a little bit off. So I think then it just really kind of snowballed. So now they are verbalizing all these little gripes at each other. Carole pulls out the cheaters and she's reading her notes or whatever she's got on her phone. She's just reading all these things that Bethany had said about her. Bethany's got like a folder full of papers. Bethany really didn't have her time to go through her thing yet. There's a part 3, and I don't think we're done yet with those two. Carole claims that she was so proud of Bethany for what she was doing in Puerto Rico, and that she even tried to make arrangements for a private jet to deliver supplies, and I don't know if that didn't work out, or I don't know. It was just a big jumble of two women who were going after each other, and I didn't like it. Carole claimed that, you know, whenever anybody would say something bad about Bethany, I would always say, well, maybe she's having a bad day, but I love her. That was a very backhanded compliment, if it can even be considered a compliment. And Bethany's reply was, yeah, and I do the same thing for you. And Carole said, the point is when somebody says something nasty, you shut that down. That's what a good friend does. And Bethany said something about Adam, and she goes, I thought you two were over. I didn't even know at the time that you guys were still having coffee, but as soon as I found out that you were, I immediately backed off of that. Maybe she was kind of bashing Adam to Carole when she thought they were broken up. That, I guess, something like that. Anyway, like I said, Carole's sitting there reading every bad thing that Bethany has ever said to her. And now it's Bethany and Sonia's turn to be making little snide comments to each other under their breath. In part 1, it was Dorinda and Carole making all the snide comments. Now it's these two. All I can say is it does seem like everybody was prepared for this reunion. Everyone had their ammo, you know? This reunion is sort of giving me a stomachache because I don't like this sort of really nasty stuff to each other. Last year, you know, stuff came out with the reunions and all that, but at the end of that reunion, they all went out to lunch together or dinner, whatever. They all went out together. And I feel like that's not going to happen this year, and that makes me sad. Here's the thing. As much as they frustrate me from week to week, it's either Carole who says something I disagree with or Bethany that says something that I disagree with. At the end of the day, I don't want any of them to leave. I love all of these ladies. I think this group works to make New York one of the best franchises. I really do. To me, the real sweet spot was when Carole and Bethany were little besties, and together they would make snarky comments about the absurdity of LuAnn or Ramona or Sonia. That was the sweet spot to me. That's when the show was the funniest, because it was like we had these two girls, Bethany and Carole, who were kind of, you know, the voice of reason, who could laugh at the Countess and, you know, all the crazy stuff that the other ladies do. And I love the other ladies too, believe me. But I think that's just when it kind of all really worked for me. Now, with Bethany and Carole, so angry, you know, so much anger and hurt between them. It is just upsetting to me, and I really do wish they could find their sweet spot. There's more between Carole and Bethany. Carole accuses Bethany of age shaming her. Every time she would say, oh, I know you wish you were 45, but you're acting like you're 7, or something. I guess a couple of times she said, I know you wish you were 45. Carole says, I'm 54 years old. I think I've always admitted my age, and I think that's age shaming. Bethany disagreed. Bethany said, I'm not calling you old. That would be age shaming. I don't know. It's just ugly stuff about female empowerment, and Bethany saying Carole doesn't have a career. Carole saying she does. You guys know all this stuff. Carole says, Bethany, you bashed me on the show every chance you got. Bethany says, you bashed me on social media. Andy says, you bashed each other. Carole's like, are you kidding me, Andy? What, are you afraid of her too? Andy's like, yeah, I'm afraid of her. Here's the thing. You did both say bad things about each other. Do you not realize it's on camera? The problem is, if you don't admit when you do something wrong, then you don't really have a leg to stand on when you did something right. If you're not going to admit any wrongdoing whatsoever, then the other party is really going to kind of stop listening to you, I think. You have to own your stuff, right? Own it, baby. Just own it. So part 2 ends right there, and we get a screenshot of in memory of Dennis Shields, and I didn't notice that at the end of part 1. Was it there then too? I mean, because it was certainly in the news before part 1 aired, so maybe I just missed it. Okay, so today's question comes from Mama Cece. Hi, Mama Cece. And she says, hey Jill, here's a question. How does your hubby feel about your housewife obsession? Does he watch the shows with you? Does he watch your YouTube channel? Okay, so first, how does he feel about my housewife obsessions? I don't know. I don't think he minds. I only watch 4 of the franchises. I watch East Coast and West Coast. I watch Jersey and New York, and I watch OC and Beverly Hills. And that's it. I think maybe if I watched every single one, he might say something. Also, now that I recap them, I'm usually watching them during the day, I take notes while I watch, so I'm watching and stopping and, you know, pulling screenshots and stuff like that. So it's usually while he's working anyway, so it doesn't bother him. And that kind of answers the next question, does he watch them with you? He does not. But he does watch Vanderpump Rules. My daughter got him into that. And I am toying with the idea of recapping that only because it is so fantastically fabulous. But I'm gonna have to figure out when the next season starts, if it's gonna fit in with the schedule of when I'm recapping other things. So that's a maybe. And then finally, does he watch my YouTube channel? He does. He does. He's cute. He's very supportive. I'm not going to say that he pays attention to the entire, you know, half hour or whatever it is, but he lets it run. So at least I get a view out of it. And sometimes he will comment, and he always gives it a like. So it's sweet. He does like when I do like a funny opening, or like I do a bit at the beginning where I'm acting like somebody or dressing up like somebody. He does like that part, but anyway. Okay, thank you for your question, Mama Cece. And also, thank you for being such a supporter of me. We laughed about how when you first subscribed to my channel, I had like less than 10 subscribers. So anyway, you stuck with me and I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right, that's it for me. I hope you liked this episode. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And I hope to see you next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Time for part 3 of the reunion of the Real Housewives of New York City. Bye-bye.